start by acknowledging that in this area we are on the traditional territory and homelands of the Chinookan and Tayanapan peoples and Cowlitz Indian tribe. So when we first began to plan this conference, I thought I knew how to build bridges and was really excited at the opportunity, but as it turns out, I had a lot to learn. I thought I knew what it would look like to reach out and to be respectful and to listen, but some things fall apart, like the St. John's Bridge found this bowl. That happens. It also happened, I'm serious, I was walking across the bridge, that's the bowl. But you know, our best intentions, born in the culture in which I was raised, in which we were raised, turned out to be both offensive and educational. And the hard lessons I've learned in planning this conference have made this a transformative experience for me in countless ways. My name is Tamara Staten, and I'd like to welcome you from the bottom of my heart to the 6th Annual Regional Conference, Greater Pacific Northwest Regional Conference. I'm always so impressed when I get to stand together with so many climate advocates like you. And there are so many other places you could be, so many other things you could be doing, especially on a Saturday morning. And I know that those of you in Portland who work with me all the time know that I say this pretty much every time I stand in front of a room full of climate advocates. And I can't help it. Like, I just feel this amazing inspiration. My legs are shaking a little bit right now, but I've been super excited to be able to be up in front. I told myself I was going to pause and just like take you in, because it's really amazing. I mean, this conference, I didn't look at the numbers this morning, but as of yesterday, I think we had 187 people registered for this conference, which is definitely our biggest. So you inspire me, you motivate me, you light me up and make me smile, you give me hope that I'm not in this alone, and I'm really, really happy to be here with you, all of you. So many of you know me as the regional coordinator of our beautiful aqueous region full of ocean, lakes, rivers, archipelagos, had to get that one in there, and of course, people. At this conference, as I said, there are over 180. I bet we're going to break 200, I'm sure of it, actually. Both newer to CCL and more experienced volunteers. The majority of you hail from within our region: Washington, of course, Oregon, Idaho, Alaska, and Hawaii, over video conference. And perhaps next year we'll be able to sit together with some Pacific Islanders from Guam, American Samoa, and the Mariana Islands, which is also in our beautiful region. But until then, we're very happy to be with each and all of you, and especially those of you who traveled far from California and Colorado, even. So, and Alaska, of course, in Alaska, yes. So I always enjoy being able to share and give a snapshot of who we are as a region, with a specific focus on the amazing work of nearly 14,000 regional supporters. That's about 6,300 supporters here in Washington, about 4,000 to the south in Oregon, nearly 2,000 in Idaho, and 2,000 more in Alaska and Hawaii together. We have active volunteers spread out between nearly 37 active chapters, which is 4 more than last year, with 24 more chapters in progress. We have active chapters in every congressional district now, in huge part thanks to all of you and the dedication, support, and guidance of our amazing volunteer state coordinators in our region. Members of Congress prioritize their constituents. They listen to us. And when we have chapters in every district, we help move our members of Congress up the champion scale. The climate champion scale, in fact. So my guess is that many of you agree our region is amazing. We have a lot to protect here, so much to enjoy and preserve for future generations. Wine, beer. How could I not start with those? Oceans, coastlines, rivers, salmon, forests, children, high deserts, deep canyons, and of course, adults and other people who are not children or adults, however those may be. In planning this conference, we reflected on perspectives, needs, and considerations of the residents in our region, and what it might take to What it might take locally for us to support effective solutions nationally. And with this, we've done our best to offer a range of speakers and workshops that address the diversity of our region, providing multiple opportunities to educate ourselves and learn from others about best practices and important considerations for cutting emissions and protecting people in the process. We all know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is integral to our climate work, in part because we must build the bridges that support and elevate the voices of those who are most impacted by climate change, but all too often go unheard. But what does building those bridges really look like? What does it mean for us as CCLers and good people? Along this journey, I often found myself worrying about whether I would invite someone who might stir the pot too much, who might say the wrong things, or even say the right things in the wrong way. The wrong way. But this is where I fell flat and I lost my bolt. When a woman I admire very much gently declined my invitation to be a part of this conference, 2 of them, in fact, it was the wake-up call I needed. Diversity is not just about inviting people of different backgrounds, ages, and political affiliations. It's also about the diversity of thought, acknowledging that people see the world differently from us and being okay with that. I am convinced that if a member of Congress or one of their staffers disagreed with our work or was rude and dismissive or said something in the wrong way, we would still react with kindness and understanding and keep working to build a positive relationship. In fact, I've seen this time and time again in lobby meetings on the Hill. I'm always impressed by our lobby groups on the Hill. And it has reinforced the pride that I feel of being part of an organization that puts gratitude, respect, and appreciation at the helm. And so this has me wondering, what would it take for us to carry this approach forward into every interaction that we have, including and especially when someone does not embrace the CCL way, outside of the congressional halls, when someone's values differ from ours at the front of the room, when someone's way of being puts us on the defensive or upsets us in a conversation? Are we willing to reconsider our own words, beliefs, and long-standing traditions and the impact that this has on others? It's certainly not easy. It's awkward and uncomfortable to be vulnerable and unsure. It's scary to send an email in a culture you've never spoken before, and disheartening when you don't hear a response. But integrity can guide us and remind us of what's available when we do the work and really step into somebody else's shoes. Diversity, equity, and inclusion must be an organic process. It begins with making an effort to teach myself and ourselves how to build the bridges that unite us. Yes, we can learn from those around us, and we naturally will, if we're open and ready. But as obvious as this sounds, it is not up to others to educate us. We have to meet partway. We have to do the research, and we have to seek the answers to the questions we wonder about, with the help of our closest friends, perhaps, and do the inner work that rarely feels easy. And then we can meet partway on the bridge over the water that unites us. I know that I will continue to make mistakes, but I've learned to step away from what I think should happen and how I think others should do this work and become a humble listener instead. After all, the best teachers are always open to learning and challenging their own beliefs, right? As a climate advocate, mother, wife, and citizen lobbyist, I don't want my family and friends to say, "Tamara, you are amazing at lobbying Congress for climate solutions." I want more than that. I want my husband and daughter to be able to say, "Mama, you had courage. You had the humility to accept that you didn't have all the answers. You invited people with love and respect for their existence, even when it didn't fit your narrative, and this shows." Did you know that there are more than 500,000 bridges, including my favorite one right there, in the United States alone? And we as good neighbors have just as many opportunities to build the bridges that unite us in communities for mountains to see. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful conference, and I'll meet you on the bridge. And now I get to introduce Mark, who tells me every year Keep it short, don't say anything nice. So I have this whole paragraph written, and I'm not going to share it with you, actually. I was going to, even though I knew he was going to say that. He said it over there in that room again. So, you know, we only get to enjoy Mark every other year. That's sort of nice. I guess that's sort of a nice thing to say, so sorry. Okay. But, you know, Mark Reynolds, he's our executive director, and he might have a few worthwhile things to say. So,
well, that was amazing, right?
Yes.
I mean, I could go home and say my life was better for coming to this conference. So, I was really blown away by what you just said, Tamara, and I want to see if I could add something. I was talking to someone years ago who was talking about marriage and how to have your marriage be successful. And he said, you shouldn't take it as a 50-50 deal. You should approach it as you're 100% responsible and the other person is 0. That's your best chance of success. So I don't think we should meet people halfway. I think we should meet them all the way. I also want to say for the people who organized this conference, so I read this study 6 years ago that said, what are the most 6 stressful jobs in America? 1 and 2 are Afghanistan, Iraq. 3 and 4 are fire and police work, and number 5 is event planning. If you've done it, you know, it's hell. It's complete hell. It's not just all the details that we managed, it's that you're managing your own mind for months that knows that everything will go wrong. And so you don't sleep, you're like more irritable because, you know, it's not going to work. You know it's not going to work. I mean, and so many funny things have happened. The first conference we ever had in Austin, we got there the second day in the winter, and the building was locked. So we did the first talk outside, and we're all like this, right? But it's CCL, we make it work, right? Our first conference in Missouri, George and Kathy Lahr produced the conference. At the end of the conference, George said, I just have 2 things I want to say. One is, Kathy and I decided to stay together. 2 is, we've decided to stick with CCL. So could we have everybody who's involved with planning this conference please stand up so we can thank you again.
Oh.
It is cool. It's that kind of work where we can all go home now and we'd say, yeah, we're better off for having been there. So I also want to thank, you know, most of you are aware that Howard passed away in December, and a lot of you sent notes to me, both electronic and paper, that I took over to him and read to him. And I just want you to know the enormous difference that made for him, and in particular what it made for his family. Because they were going through something really difficult. And to hear what this organization meant to you, was really something. So initially, he could move from his bed to a chair in the back of the house. And so I would sit next to him in the chair and I would read your notes, or I would play like Danella recorded this lovely message. But then he could only lay in the bed, so we would just sit next to him in the bed and read those notes. And so most of you probably didn't get a chance to do it, but a lot of you did. And I just want you to know that helped his family. And it helped those of us who had a chance to go read the notes, so thank you for that. That was a really touching experience for all of us. Okay, I want to just give you a little touch of where we've come over the last year and what we're looking at going forward. So we entered last year with 182,000 supporters. Of those 182,000, 70,000 of them are new to the organization this year. So that's a huge amount of growth. And there are now 567 chapters around the world. 102 of those are outside the United States.
Wow.
And some of the most inspiring places where people are saying, yes, I want to engage in my democracy, are places in Africa, where their internet connection is so slow that we can't do Zoom with them. So we've been starting chapters by chat. And they're hanging in there for an enormous amount of time. Sometimes Kathy will doing those in French, which is her second language. But there's, people want what you want. We had one Asian country where they said, we don't really have a functioning government. So we said, okay, we're going to add a step to you. Start a government. The demographics of our organization organizations are changing dramatically. As you can see, we used to be predominantly over 65, and now actually as an average, we're under the national average for people over 65, but that's still a super important, really key part of this organization. And then you'll see the really young, the 18s to 45, we're now actually over the national average. So the rate at which we're becoming a younger organization is dramatic and important. You know, as Cameron said, as Cameron said, we need to look like our entire country. And that same thing is happening with people of color. This isn't happening as dramatically as young people, but you can see significant growth in that more and more people of color are feeling comfortable here. You'll see lots of people at the conference. We're happy about this growth. It's an area that, that we are continuing to do a lot of outreach. We do have two diversity outreach coordinators, and so we're happy the direction it's going with. We like it to be going faster. Here's where the chart doesn't look so good. So we've maintained about the same percentage of conservative supporters inside of CCL, and obviously with an enormous amount of effort. But here's the good news I want to point to with this. So if we're at the same place percentage-wise as 2016 as we are now, but last year we added 70,000 supporters, it means we have thousands of more conservatives. And how many of you are aware that a month ago we did our first ever conservative lobby day in DC? Yeah, so that was, 85 people who were right of center, only meeting with Republican offices, and frankly there were some things that could happen in those meetings that wouldn't happen when I would go in there and say, hey, I'm a flaming liberal, but you conservatives will really love this. It's way different when conservatives are saying that than when I'm saying it, right? So we want to see the percentage of this go. We've invested a lot of time and energy and money in trying to grow this side of the organization, and I believe that a lot of that will pay off, and it's important. To have a durable solution, we need it to be bipartisan, so we need more conservatives actually on board. So what's happened? Ooh, bad slide. Slide's a lie, right? Where's the lie on that slide? 80 co-sponsors, that's right. Oh, very sloppy, guys. So there's 80 co-sponsors, but one of the cool things is from 22 states, right? So we have almost half the states covered now that there's a co-sponsor. 1,339 endorsements. As I said, 182,000 supporters, and now there's 8 carbon pricing bills. There is no way that happens without the Climate Solutions Caucus. There's some people who still contend that Climate Solutions Caucus was greenwashing. But if you've got 8 carbon pricing bills, because we got Democrats and Republicans talking to each other, that's a big deal. There's no way those bills come out. First of all, without the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, that was a really big deal, the first bipartisan carbon pricing bill in a decade. But then the others added on because of the room that the caucus created. Here's the states with co-sponsors, and we'll be growing. I will talk more about Republican co-sponsors in just a moment. Committees we've reached. Okay, so these are the committees of jurisdiction for us. And so it's important that we have people on those committees because those are the places where hearings will happen. It's very difficult to imagine there being hearings this year, given the legislative session ends in July and then everybody's out on the campaign trail. But to have 6 people on Ways and Means, which is the foremost important committee for us, for a hearing to be held, 5 out of 31 in Energy and Commerce, 12 of 26 in Foreign Affairs, and 13 of 30 in Appropriations. Now, this is something where the number of committees a bill is referred to is actually counter-commonsensical. Because sometimes people will submit a bill and they'll refer it to 10 committees. What that means is they are not serious about getting a bill passed. It shows the seriousness of Mr. Deutsch and Mr. Rooney that they only referred it to 4 committees. The reason for that is any time you refer to a committee, any committee chair can kill the bill. So if you refer it to a 10 places and somebody doesn't refer it out of committee, you've essentially given a lot of people the opportunity to make sure that the bill doesn't get passed. This shows the seriousness of Mr. Deutsch and Mr. Rooney that we're actually referring to the 4 that are actually relevant to us, and the ones that we would want something actually referred out of. So here's the other bills that we've introduced. Some of those are also bipartisan, so we're actually making a stake for getting Republicans and Democrats working with each other. I'm excited about one of our bipartisan campaigns that we're releasing very soon called the Far Middle. Some of you might have seen glimpses of it. You've heard of the far left. You've heard of the far right. We're going to be launching a campaign called the Far Middle. I think it's like the most radical place you can be, right? What are you? I'm a complete radical. I'm the craziest person you've ever met. How so? I'm for the middle. Well taken. So then, one of the really cool things is the diversity of support in Congress itself for the bill. So you've got Representative Yvette Clarke, the Vice Chair of Energy and Commerce. You've got Judy Chu, who's the Chair of the Asian Pacific American Caucus. Chu Garcia, who's a member of the Hispanic Caucus. Karen Bass, who is the Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. And Hank Johnson, the Secretary of the Black Caucus. So it's great to see such a diversity of support where you've gotten people from all directions super happy about that on the bill also. In terms of endorsements, 565 businesses, 92 faith groups, 21 news media, 307 prominent individuals, 153 nonprofits, 90 local governments, and 4 tribes. You'll see Reggie on one of the panels later, who's been absolutely instrumental in getting us on bills, particularly the NAVO initiative. Okay, so what about going forward from here? So we now have the Climate Solutions Caucus going in the Senate. So we hope to start to see the kind of activity coming out of the Senate that we've seen coming out of the House. This is a big month for Republicans, because most of the filing deadlines end in March to see if Republican members of Congress are going to be challenged from the right. So they have to kind of keep their guard up and watch for someone going to challenge from the right. For a lot of them, it would be a bad idea to get on the bill before they gave someone some ammunition to challenge them from the right. So we certainly anticipate from what we've heard from Republican offices that we'll add more Republicans after the filing deadline. Now listen, we have been teased plenty of times. One of the things that was kind of hysterical last year, this was before the bill was dropped during the lame duck session. We had someone that we'd identified as who was really going to lead the ideal Republican co-lead. And he said, I'm going to do it. And so we're like, great, that's exciting. This is a person who brings other conservatives on really easily. He said, I just want to talk to Grover Norquist, and I want to talk to Steve Scalise. And we're like, no, you don't. That is not who you want to talk to. And his staff's like, oh, no, don't worry. This is somebody, if he says he's going to do something, it's a done deal. We're like, no. So he, of course, went wobbly on us. He kind of disappeared. So we've had plenty of times where we've thought, okay, we've got someone in a position, but you know, it's obviously a better position to be a Republican and be on a climate bill than it's been for a long time. You know, you see all the same polling everybody sees, and they see it. 75% of Republicans under the age of 40 are in favor of action on climate. So certainly things are moving in the direction. Speaker McCarthy certainly signaled to his caucus that Republicans, they need to do something on climate. They're starting to talk about ideas, so that's a big step forward. Are the ideas not as satisfying as we want them to be? No. But they're at least moving in the right direction, and I think one of the things that Mr. McCarthy knows is he can't become the speaker again without taking the suburbs. And so he's got to have something that appeals to the suburbs, so we expect to see more activity there. Also want to, how many of you are registered to come to the conference in June? How many are registered to come to the conference? Okay. What I want you to do, whether you're coming or not, I'd like you to occasionally go to the landing page and see what it says about the June conference. So we have a really, I believe, remarkable woman who heads up our marketing department. Her name is Leslie Beatty. And I think one of the signs of a strength in someone is when they say, I can't figure it out this year. So Leslie said, I don't know how to position the conference this year. I can't get there. I'm struggling with bipartisanship, and so I need some help. And so she got a team of 4 of her coworkers, and they said, okay, let's see what we can say about the conference. And so I recommend you click on this regularly. if you click on registration, it says Heal Our Democracy, Solve Climate Change. 2020 will be a challenging year for the climate. We've been grappling with some big, complicated challenges as a country. Later this year, we'll have a presidential election. Meanwhile, urgent problems like climate change are higher in public awareness than ever. But sometimes it feels like polarization is higher than ever too. How will our government take action? You have a choice. Will you choose to resign yourself to politics as usual, to energize in unproductive fights, or will you choose to work together to connect with your fellow Americans, to organize in your community, and to bring people together around the urgent issue of climate change? At CCL, we've made that choice. We're showing up in Washington, D.C. to heal our democracy and our climate. I thought that was a really nice piece of work to put together. As Tamara says, they let me come here every other year. The people who control my schedule. Oh well, they control what I don't. That's probably a good thing. So I'm really, really happy to be here. Yesterday, we got a kind of anonymous grant from Rick Steves, Europe, last year. It was one of those kind of nice things that happens. Oh, Rick Steves would like to send you $50,000. You want it? And they said, okay, we'll take it. So we went up there to see them yesterday and to thank them and to tell them we would love it if they were interested in this again. And it was really cool because, I expected to meet great people in a great organization, but they were way better than that. And they are very much values-oriented. And what became obvious in talking to them is, yeah, travel was their means, but what they were really trying to do was have people be more thoughtful, expanded people. I'm like, that's all we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is create a condition in which people can become a better version of themselves. So that was one of those meetings where they might renew or they might not. I think they probably will. But you felt a deep, powerful, personal connection. Like, here's some people doing amazing things, and it was great to have a few minutes to just, be there and be present to it and thank them for it. So, did that yesterday, came down here last night. Really excited to be here. It has been a couple of years. I'm very, very thrilled to be with you for a day and a half, and turn things back over to Tamara. Thank you so much.
I think Mark was right. He doesn't need an introduction, right? Yeah. Give me another hand. One more. So we get another treat. We have lots of treats for you this weekend. So many. I'd be up here all day telling you about them. But we have the first woman mayor elected to the city of Vancouver. I think I'm right about that, right? Mayor Ann is here with us. Call her just Mayor Ann, but I think, it'd be good for you to know her last name, McInerney Ogle. I think I got that right? Yes? Okay, she nodded. And she also told me, similar to Mark, don't say too much. So, just a couple brief things. Originally elected to the Vancouver City Council in November 2013 and took her first oath of office in January 1st, 2014. And as I said, she became the first woman to serve as mayor of Vancouver on January 1st, 2018, where she's helped to lead efforts in economic development, regional community relations, and transportation. So, Mayor Ann.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Mark. This is quite a crowd. I wish you were here Monday night when we finally, after 17 years, were able to make a decision of putting bike lanes on the street. Welcome to the great city of Vancouver on the north bank of the mighty Columbia River. We're 187,000 people. Our service area, our urban growth area, means that we are the second largest city in the state of Washington. People don't really kind of know that. We're 52 square miles of land, and we stretch out way up the Columbia to Camas. And in fact, a few Camas people actually live in Vancouver, and a few Vancouvers live in Camas. As we look at this land, this is a very precious area. And I love the theme of bridges. Anyone that knows our neck of the woods know that we have a little bridge over here called the I-5 Bridge. The interstate bridge is the only stop sign from Canada to Mexico. And people who are new to our region, because the city of Vancouver has 3,000 new people every year. If they live in East Vancouver and only travel on the 205, they never go over to the west side. They don't know that the bridge goes up and down. Not just for the tugs and the barges, but for the sailboat. The one sailboat with the one person that has a very tall mast and sends the comment up to the bridge tender to raise the bridge. Well, after 100 years, one of the trunnions on the I-5 bridge, that is the piece of equipment that pull the cables, has a crack in it. So, think about the 75,000 people that go across that bridge every day, many of them to work in Portland, in the Portland metro area. We're going to close that bridge in September for 2 weeks. And we'll throw everyone on the southbound bridge, because there are actually 2 bridges. 2 lanes in the morning going south, 2 lanes going north in the evening. So you do not want to be here. September 12th, this year, if you, how many Clark County folks do we have in the room? All right, if you're pouring concrete, you want it done in August, because from September 12th through about the 25th, it's going to be hell around here. But that's why we wanted those bike lanes. So, as I looked at your agenda, I thought, what an interesting group, because you are all leaders in your community. Whether it's a state or a city or the national level or a village or a town or whatever you have, you probably have lots of different roles and responsibilities, but depending on the situation, you are going to learn some things. I looked at your agenda, it's pretty interesting. You have leadership training and all sorts of things. But when you think about different leaders that have been in your life or that you've read about, whether for the city of Vancouver, George C. Marshall, or even Jane Goodall, or even your parents who were leaders, you have a lot of responsibility. I certainly know what it's like to go back to Congress and beg for money, and beg for policies. And so when the mayors of Southwest Washington and I get together, we talk about 3 things. What do we need to do to be good leaders? And we kind of shorthand it all and said, get the dream, get the team, and get it done. You already have your dream. It's all over your material, how exciting. The model is one of respectful dialogue across party lines to advocate for national bipartisan legislation to place a fee on carbon emissions. When you're back in your community, you have your dream. But you're going to need to take some time with your colleagues, your citizens. You're going to need to encourage them to solve the problem in your ever-changing community. You're going to need to nurture their innovation, their creativity, challenge some of those assumptions that they may have. You're going to need to practice your active listening. I love the comment when you're back there about keeping that very respectful dialogue. That is so hard. Yesterday I had a person call to say that he knew why the coronavirus was happening. because Americans created it and sent it to China for population control. Wow. Talk about your blowback. You're here at the conference to learn a little bit more. You do your research. And that is how we needed to do our research in Vancouver. We've been working on fossil fuels, but we needed to learn what is the impact of our decision, especially for the Port of Vancouver. Little did we know, because it was a secret on purpose, that we store diesel and aviation and jet fuel in Lower Vancouver for Portland. Because of the seismic issues that we have here, we are Plan B for them. So if PDX goes belly up, we have Pearson Airfield in Vancouver, and we have the big storage tanks for many of the fossil fuels that are used to bring things in and out of not just Portland, but Vancouver and such. And that's because we're part of a region. But that meant that we needed to have a little research on our own. And remember that those decisions are based on information, and individuals bring their own experiences to the table. I thought I knew all of those special things about being the mayor, until I was the mayor behind the closed doors, and then I learned all the secrets about what moves through my community on trucks, on trains, on all sorts of barges up and down the Columbia River. Especially the trains. We had no idea what goes up and down the BNSF lines. From up north, from ammunition, fuels, all sorts of things. So, you have your dream. Who's your team? Well, many of you already have that. And it's all about relationships, if I might add. As I sit with my Vancouver City Council, they're all very strong, independent individuals. In order for anything to get done in the city of Vancouver, I need 4. It's very different than Portland government. I need 3 people to join me on everything. Every budget, every policy, every moratorium, every resolution. I need to know my team. I need to be able to coach them. Some of them are brand new. They have never been in government before. They thought they knew what it was like to be a counselor. And then they had to make a decision on Monday night. I needed to understand their feelings, their difficulties. I needed to share my views on why it was important to take action. But just as you probably found, it's much more fun to be in the middle of the circle talking to everyone than being at the top of the mountain shouting down at everyone. Being a part of the team is important for us. That last piece is to just get it done. They need to be decisive. 2 of them tried very hard Monday night not to be. But I'm a retired math teacher. 30 years in the classroom with junior high students. I am very good at what we call wait time. I'll ask you the question, and I'll wait for you to think about it and answer. So the first one over on my left was hands up real fast, I want to tell you, and waffled on everything. It was the one on my right, the brand new, who needed just a little bit more time. But she made a decision. We needed to get this done. Teddy Roosevelt once said, "Believe you can, and you're halfway there." We could provide all the information, we could provide the research, we could work on everything, But it's almost as important to talk about why you're making that decision as the actual decision. And that is what my colleague on the right needed to do. She needed to talk it through. We talked in the hallway, we talked at dinner, but we're on camera now. And she needed to explain her reasoning. But we do that in math. Don't just give me an answer. Explain to me how you got that answer. We actually test for that exact same thing in the state of Washington and Oregon. How did you come up with that math answer? And here my colleague was working it through. Great honesty. Well, you're not going to win and make progress on 49% of what you go for. It's taken us 7 years to pass a single piece of legislation up in Olympia, but this week, it's done. Yay. We've been working on our homeless issues for 8 years. We're not done. As I said, it took us 17 years to turn Columbia Street into having bike lanes in both directions and removing nearly 400 parking spots. And it's going to take us more than 21 years to replace a failing I-5 bridge. But we also have a rule. No new decisions after dark. Sometimes things unexpectedly come up, and we say we need to sleep on it. And it's okay to say, you know, that's a good start, let's get some more people in on the conversation, let's think about it, let's sleep on it, and let's talk tomorrow. And in fact, on OPD this week, there was just a little segment on sleep. And I thought, that's why I enjoy sleep. It allows your brain to take everything in and to categorize it and put it in the right spots. But remember, all of your work, the best thing you need is to keep your sense of humor. You can work really, really hard, and other people will jump in at the last minute to take credit. So I want to remind you of the little red hen. Some of you are old enough to remember that. The industrious little red hen is always on the move while the other farm animals just sit around and sleep. She finds a grain of wheat, she plants it, harvests the wheat crop, shucks the wheat, grinds it, and then bakes a loaf of bread. And when the time comes for the bread to be eaten, the farm animals want a share of it, but all they get from the little red hen is a lecture about when there is bread to be baked, don't loaf on the job. This proves just how hardworking the little red hen really is, and not many would do that much work just to be able to make a very good pun, but that is why they called her Red. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate having you here, taking your time out of your busy schedule to come be with us. Thank you. So I'm really excited to introduce our keynote speaker to you, but I've also been tasked with sharing some housekeeping things, which I'm also excited to share. So first of all, the most important things, bathrooms are in the hall, as is coffee and tea. Okay. In the name of diversity, we encourage you to switch up your table today. So start at the table you're at, and then find a new table with some new friends today. There is Wi-Fi. If you are not in need of it and can use satellite, the signal is somewhat spotty, and it might be nice for the speakers to be able to use that, but it is available. It's an open network. If you need help, find those people with ribbons on. And if you have a ribbon on and you are in this room, could you please stand up so those people know who you are? Eliane, do you have a ribbon on? A ribbon on? Okay. Who has a ribbon? Those people might be outside. Do we have ribbons? No ribbons. I didn't get the memo. Literally. I did not get the memo on that one. So if you need help, just find a friendly person and they will point you to the house. Because that's what we do in CCL. We help each other. You have surely noticed some beautiful art around the room. There's some amazing fish. I want to say fishes, because I like that word, but I don't think that's accurate. There's also art in the hall, and this amazing art is done by our local artivist, as I've heard him refer to himself. Activist, artivist Robin White in the back of the room. Robin White lovingly agreed to support us on planning and moderating our allies, Native and Indigenous allies panel today, and we were excited when he offered to put his art on display. So it is for sale. It sounds like it's marked, and if it's not, and you have any questions about it, you know where to find the gentleman in the back of the room. He won't be there all day. He'll be around, but he won't be standing there all day. So maybe you don't know where to find him, but it'll be fun. It's like an adventure. Go find Robin. So speaking of beautiful art, we have this really cool silent auction. Later I'm going to talk about the amazing work of the fundraising committee. They made many, many calls, and some of what they came away with were organizations and individuals who lovingly donated these things in the back. So a perfect brunch gift bag from New Seasons, bread of the month from Grand Central Bakery, a handcrafted hat, a massage. You get a massage. Some of us might be a little stressed out. Not me. Fine. So fun. Learn how to sail with our very own CCL volunteer Walton Keski. Learn how to cook. That one's pretty cool. It's like a 6-month cooking certification online. You can do it from in your pajamas. There's a globe. There's a handmade beaded crystal light catcher. And the coolest thing about that is I have one because she gave me one as a gift. So not only would you get it, but you would also have one similar to me. So how better? There's nothing better. Then over there, on that table, under the fire alarm and next to the beautiful boats, there's a donation table. If you would like to make a donation to CCL, we will award you with a gift. There's lots of cool things over there. Coffee, tofurkey certificates. If you don't know what that is, go check it out. Stumptown coffee, kombucha, a nature bookmark. Really great stuff over there. Outside, there's a meetup board. We thought it would be neat for us to help bring people together for dinner, for hanging out in the bar, whatever you want to do after the conference. And those signups are out there. I'm super excited. I feel like I'm going to be running around helping with technology more than I might want to today. And that means, to me, this feels like a wedding. Like, I'm so excited to see so many of you, and you never have enough time to see all of you. So come play games with me tonight, please. I brought some really cool ones, and I think some of you will too. And the last thing that I want to share, how many of you in this room have seen Top Gun? Raise your hand. Oh yeah. So you know you know who Wingman is, right? Wingman. So we're going to start our own little wing tradition around here. The mayor mentioned coronavirus. I don't think I need to say any more. But Lene, you want to come help me? So in the name of health, we're gonna do this. Hey, hi. So wash your hands and do the bump. All the cool kids are doing it. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna pull up my introduction to this lovely lady who's come all the way from California to hang out with us in the Pacific Northwest, Valerie Bain. I know I'm not supposed to start with her name, but that's, you know. Throughout her first 5 years as a proud CCLer, Valerie has focused her attention on ensuring that our message of hope and longevity reaches as far and wide as possible. She works to give volunteers direction about how to begin to broaden their awareness, acceptance, and appreciation of the different types of people around them, and helps them understand the most respectful way to venture into this new amazing space. She is confident that together we will accomplish the mission that started with one man and blossomed into a powerful movement. Please welcome Valerie Bain.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone of CCL's governing board of directors. And I really appreciate that opportunity to give back to the 181,000 volunteers who give their time. So, we're going to take a little trip. And this one's for you, Marshall. It's called Being Good Neighbors. So every time I begin speaking, and I talk a little bit, I do so from a place of great pride. And I talk about the entire organization's amazing commitment to outstretching its collective arms and welcoming the masses into this incredible movement. And every time I find myself circling back to highlight CCL's diversity and their core value of diversity. For those of you who have yet to experience this powerful addition to our core values, let me just share it with you now. And it says, we empower everyone in exercising their personal and political power, regardless of race, ethnicity, nationality, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, religion, ability, or political affiliation. And we seek out, support, and elevate people whose voices may not have been fully heard. And that is powerful. So every time, and even when we have the best intentions to make diversity part of our standard practice, lasting change takes time to achieve. And sometimes it can be rather frustrating and truly challenging for us. However, when you reflect on the incredible impact that even just being open to change can have on our lives and the lives of everyone around us, it can inspire you to keep pressing on. So personally, I tend to operate from this kind of mindset that we simply need to trust that the more we set the status quo aside, the less it will actually be the status quo. And I am delighted to see CCLers beginning to question that status quo and give themselves permission to explore a new way of thinking. And the biggest challenge we face as we strive to bring everyone into the conversation is also our greatest opportunity. We simply need to practice patience. Becoming proficient at any new skill can be made easier when we have a role model. And as I kind of sat and I pondered how I came to develop a mindset of mindfulness, acceptance, empathy, and compassion, one of my role models immediately popped into my head. And as I introduce him to you now, maybe, just maybe, he'll rub off on you. Back in 1968, when life was in black and white, a soft-spoken Presbyterian minister from a little town in Pennsylvania, he got this idea to use the television as a mechanism for teaching kids critical emotional and social skills. His name was Fred Rogers. And his famous show, which lasted 33 seasons, was called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And if you've never caught the show, allow me to paint the full picture now. So every episode began with wonderful Mr. Rogers donning his cozy cardigan and a warm smile and launching into this 1.5 minutes of his legendary theme song, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And whether you were a child during that era, or just someone who was willing to give yourself permission to learn a fresh approach to communication, his messages were relevant. It was kind of like this. Now, Mr. Fred Rogers probably did it with a little more panache. try. So he had a whole thing going. I feel better already. This is home. And Mr. Rogers sought to foster inclusion and belonging by celebrating people's differences. And in many ways, he was decades ahead of his time. And his message of accepting and celebrating people for who they are, rather than who you want them to be. He used to tell people, I like you just the way you are. Oh. Mr. Rogers, he took us by the hand, and together we learned about ourselves and the world around us. His message is as relevant today as it was 50 years ago. And as we as CCLers start to broaden the scope of our outreach, we can take a page out of Mr. Rogers' playbook about how to connect with our neighbors to our left and to our right, and practice what he called the art of paying attention. For inclusion and belonging to really take hold, everyone has to understand and appreciate what basic human experience looks like for others. He talked about having this insane curiosity about the lived experiences of others. And then he encouraged us to use this new understanding of our differences to create a bridge of empathy. So, in Mr. Rogers' fabulous neighborhood, everyone was welcomed and valued. And he helped us appreciate and respect others. And he opened his door to all and warmly invited them to share their talents and ideas. He demonstrated the power of kindness and compassion every time he looked into the camera and said, "You are special, and so is everyone in this world." He often said, it's through relationships that we learn best and grow best. And when you care about someone and know that person cares about you, you want to learn from them and strive to be your best. And he reminded us often how important we are to each other. And Mr. Rogers modeled what it is to be a kind, a respectful, and appreciative neighbor. When he met with anyone, whether a new visitor or a nearby neighbor, he showed us what social amenities look like and sound like, how you greet people, how you introduce them to your friends, how you say goodbye. And always remember to say thank you. He wasn't teaching manners, but by example, he was helping us learn to be considerate of others. And finally, Mr. Rogers always showed us how much he enjoys other people's talents, their abilities, their wonderful, innovative ideas, and how he admired the time they gave to practicing their art or their talent. And the stories in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood showed many different ways that people build caring relationships with one another. We do kind things for each other, talking and listening, helping and asking what we can do to help, working together to solve problems. And when someone doesn't feel brave enough to do something on their own, or when they feel too shy to speak up, neighbors give each other courage and support, and together they applaud the big and the small moments of inside growing. Mr. Rogers showcased the talents of others, and at the same time he modeled being an appreciator, always showing how much he enjoys other people's talents. But one of the greatest lessons that I personally learned from Mr. Rogers was the reminder that making major mindset shifts includes making mistakes. And that forward movement can be stifled by the fear of making those mistakes. We will all kind of trip up over ourselves sometimes in an effort to be politically correct. But as important as it is to offer forgiveness to our neighbors, we must also forgive ourselves. We all work on building and sustaining relationships throughout our lives, and it's not always easy. What helped dear old Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood get along was a foundation of respect, kindness, and empathy. And those messages resonate with us throughout our lives with the people near and far. And not only are we neighbors, we have it within us to be good neighbors. So I want to leave you with this priceless 1.5-minute tour of a very special place.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?
So, let's continue to put our best selves forward and spread our spirit of oneness to the masses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valerie. That was beyond words. So it's time for a break, and I just wanted to, the next session has a number of breakout sessions. This room is going to be divided into two. Help yourselves to coffee and whatever else you need to take care of. And the Grenadine app, how many of you know what the Grenadine app is, just out of curiosity? So we're using our whole schedule, and all of everybody's bios is on Grenadine app. And the code is 2020, where's it out here? Find it. CCL GPNW. Thank you. 2020 CCL GPNW. Okay, so you can get all the information there. In a nutshell, if you are new or newer, we have a climate advocacy training that is designed just for you. And there, if you are a leader or a liaison, then there's a leadership training session. And if you fit somewhere in between there, then there are a number of options divided between 2 separate hours. Okay, that's the structure. And I don't want to take away from your break any longer, so go ahead and dive in. But if you need anything, find a friendly person and be their neighbor. Have a good day.